Welcome to Embracing Infinity, exploring the infinite oneness in the space of love and truth. Host Jennifer Rose is an international spiritual medium, healer, channeler, mentor, and transformational guide. Her focus is encouraging individuals to know themselves within the lens of their divine heart and highest potential, to evolve within the frequency of love and peaceful harmony. Now, here's your host, Jennifer Rose.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday, and welcome to Embracing Infinity on the Sacred Spiral Network. I'm Jennifer Rose, and so happy to be on with all of you here today. I hope you're having a fantastic Friday as we move into a beautiful weekend. Had a little rain here in Cali, and it's kind of going to move into a little bit warmer weekend, so I'm excited about that. And I hope that you are all doing well too. Very excited to have my special guest, Paul Bond, fine artist, on. He's a Magic Realism artist, which you are all going to love. So we're so excited to allow the magic to unfold today. So very excited about that indeed. Couple quick announcements as we move forward here today. After Embracing Infinity at 2:30 Pacific time, 10:30 in the UK, Miss Kelly Brickle will be hosting, and she's our producer. Thank you, Kelly. She will be hosting the Psychic Hour with guest Cheryl Murphy today. You don't want to miss that as well. And Todd Bates will be on with EVP Explorations at 6 p.m. Pacific, 2 a.m. in the UK. Speaking of times, everybody, the time zone, I'm sorry, the daylight savings time is in the US this Sunday, and that is going to change the difference to the times over in the UK and Europe. So I believe it's going to be 1 hour less difference. So, my friends, this Sunday, I am hosting my For the Love of Spirit Sunday spiritual service. And Miss Kelly Brickle, again, is going to be our guest spiritual medium delivering messages from our loved ones in spirit and our inspired speaker. So, we're so excited to have her on. She is also part of Team Angel, as is Miss Nancy Murtala and Fran Pierce, who will be doing our spiritual poetry as well. So, if you're in the UK, please remember there's going to be a 1 hour time difference compared to before when you do that. Oops, I think we're okay. Oopsie daisy. That's okay. Uh, Anyways, there'll be a 1 hour time difference than before. So I believe it will be at 5 p.m. in the UK and 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. So just please remember that. And that's going to be for the next couple of weeks, y'all, because the UK time change isn't till towards the end of March. So we got about 3 weeks of 7 hours instead of 8 difference if you're in the Pacific time. And I think we see 4 hours instead of 5 in the Eastern time. So just something to take note of as well. So I just want to stop and say hi to everybody who's joining us really quick. And thank you all for being here today. We are streaming on the Sacred Spiral Network, on my pages, on Kelly's pages, and on Veronica's page, online live psychic readings, giving her a shout out for allowing us to share the love and the art and the magic here today. With her and her group as well too, and we are on YouTube on the Sacred Spiral Network. So with that, I want to say hi to Jazzy Knight. Hi, Miss Nancy. How you doing, beautiful? Hi, Fran. I know we like a little whoopsie daisy once in a while too. Hi, Bernadette. Beautiful. We're not doing messages today, but we have an amazing show planned that it will definitely lift your spirits, and you will be less feeling blue and hopefully all rosy after this too. I want to say hi to Heidi Gohl, who's on. Hello, Tamara. Thanks for being here today. Hi, Shannon. Thank you for being here. And hello, Jeffrey. Thank you for coming on. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer McCormick. I want to say hello to B. Darlington and to Michael Christopher, to Karen Gibbons. Hello, happy Friday. Got Brenda and Alessa. Hello. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, ladies. Hi, Bernadette. Thank you. And let me see. Am I missing anybody? I think we're all caught up. Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. And so let's get straight to the magic, everybody. This is going to be so much fun. You guys do not want to miss this. So please, everybody, let me welcome Magic Realism fine artist Paul Bond.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for having me. What a
Hi,
treat.
Paul. Thank you so much
Hi
for
from,
joining me on Embracing Infinity. We're
yeah,
very
thank you.
excited to meet you.
Yes, yeah, happy to be known.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm talking to you from Costa Rica. I like to show you, but I'm looking down at the ocean over a tropical rainforest that we live at the edge of. And I'm when I stop to slow down enough, I have to pinch myself because it's like the Garden of Eden, right? It's like I live in this magical place. And as we talk about my art, like it's it's all like I'm living my life. I'm living my art. My art is living my life. And so I couldn't be better. Thank you.
That is wonderful. I know, and I've known you for several years, and your beautiful wife
Hmm.
Donna, who
Hmm.
is a life coach and also has a new show here on Sacred Spiral Network, and other members of your family as well. We've had Suri on as well, too. So I'm so
Hmm.
happy that you're on. But I know you come from California, but now you've moved to the family, like moved all to Costa Rica, and that must be an amazing, uh, paradise for all of you too. What a change of pace.
It is from Southern California to here. And I will always, Southern California will still always be my home. Well, maybe we'll end up back there. My business, a lot of my business is based there. The limited edition prints that I create are done there, and I'm fly back and forth with my originals and so forth. So we still have a presence there for sure.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I can understand that too. It's like there's something about like a place where you've spent a lot of time in that just kind of becomes a home
hmm.
base too. So I love that too
Yeah,
because it is a beautiful
yeah.
place here too. But I just imagine Costa Rica as a little bit slower pace to where you might be able to just like
Hmm.
kind of breathe and breathe a little bit more
Hmm.
into life. I like the idea of like breathing into life. That
Yeah,
sounds like yeah.
yeah.
That sounds like I'm going to share with everybody a little bit about you, Paul.
Okay.
And then we will take a look at all the beautiful art that you're doing, talk about the magic. So, everybody, I think I can do this without glasses. Award winning artist Paul Bond was born in 1964 in Guadalajara, Mexico, and currently lives and works in Costa Rica. Alban's art lives in the spaces between dreaming and reality. Drawing from the Latin American genre of magic realism, his paintings merge symbolic, surreal, and fantastic elements with realistic atmospheres to unveil a world where everything is possible. That's my kind of my kind of magic. By juxtaposition and altering familiar objects mixed with equal parts whimsy, wonder, and mysticism, Bond's work creates a world where everything is possible. His art often carries deep metaphysical and philosophical messages, illuminating the world of our dreams and subconscious thoughts, hopes, and desires. Bond uses symbolism and allegories to create his own visual language. As he shares, when viewing a scene, object, or prose that moves me, I'm continually imagining what elements of that symbolic language I can introduce to make a grander statement about what I'm experiencing. Thus, I'm continually envisioning potential paintings out of my daily experience. I am an avid reader of both metaphysics as well as fictional stories that often focus on psychological issue. What makes people do what they do, and why do some of us thrive and others suffer and struggle? On any given day, I see or experience two or three things that could potentially become paintings. My life is rich in inspiration, so the challenge for me is never a lack of ideas, but in choosing which vision to bring to heartbreakingly beautiful and profound, to bring to fruition, forgive me, which, sorry, which vision to bring to fruition adding about his artistic motivation. The physical world to me is often heartbreakingly beautiful and profound. I channel those deep emotions life inspires in me by adding to it through a new reality of my own creation, a world intended to deepen my own life experience and to stir the souls of my fellow travelers. Bond is an accomplished writer and poet as well. and so his paintings are always accompanied by a narrative or verse. He believes that the words further transport the viewer into a deeper emotional experience that could be reached by the visual art alone. Bond's work has numerous awards and has been featured in galleries, museums, and cultural centers around the US, including the Gateway Museum and the San Diego Art Institute. His paintings are in private collections worldwide. Corporate collections include 20th Century Fox, Warner Brothers, and AMP, NBC Studios, Royal Caribbean International, Marriott Hotels, Chicago's Hotels, EMC2, Scripps Hospital, and Stanford's Children's Hospital. Just that little bit.
That's pretty good. I wonder who wrote that.
Well done, well done. Were you
Yeah,
always
yeah,
artistic from the beginning? I mean, that's also beautiful. And I've been
yeah.
familiar with surrealistic art from back in the day when I took art history, and then I found magic
Hmm.
realism at a young age as well too. And it's just so beautiful. Like, so how did you find it, or how did it find you? May I ask?
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell. When I was raised by a not raised by, but I had a grandfather. My paternal grandfather was a Mexican diplomat, and he was just a lovely human being, one of my favorite people. And he was not an artist, but he lived his life like art, right? So he just dabbled and made something, and someone gave him an art exhibit, and it was just like he's like, there's no differentiation between life and art, you know. So I was introduced to that from him very early on. And so that planted a seed. I grew up in Laguna Beach, California, and it's an artist colony. Like the high school mascots were the artists, you know. And so I got to see artists making a living from their work and thriving. So it was nurtured. It was in my environment. And growing up, I started playing with drawing and painting, you know, probably in my early teens. And I found out really pretty quickly that I had skills that most of the other people my age didn't. Um, but it was quite a while after that before I ever even really imagined becoming a professional fine artist. A lot happened in between, but I knew that art was in my soul. I knew that it was part of my calling. I just didn't know how it was going to exhibit itself. Um, I when I did start painting, probably kind of in my early 20s, I started really getting into some painting work. And very quickly, I did a few paintings. I took a lot of art courses where we learned to reproduce still lifes. We reproduced other paintings. And again, I knew that I was really good, but I'm like, I don't want to paint just a scene that I can see. Like a photograph can do that better than I can paint it. I want to create something that doesn't exist. And I think a lot of that came from the fact that I read a lot of fantasy and science fiction books, um, to the point where when you're reading these books, you have to imagine something that doesn't exist, right? You have to visually imagine it. And there's, you know, this third eye center of imagination it's a muscle, you know well, right? Um, and I developed that muscle of imagination to the point where, and I didn't realize till later, some people don't have this ability. I thought everyone did. Like I can be talking to you and looking at you, but I'm also in my mind's eye picturing a scene that doesn't exist. So I developed that ability, and going about my daily life, I would see a scene, and all of a sudden I'm seeing other elements introduced to it, and kind of it's like, oh, there's a painting, and they would just pop up right in my imagination. So whether that was predestined for me or it was a learned thing, I don't know, but it was instrumental in me moving towards creating the work that I now do. Um, I ended up I went to an art school, but then I ended up switching to commercial art and graphic design. So I did illustration, I did graphic design, logo design, got into web design, which I really liked, but I think whatever reason, I was not ready to go down the fine art, pure painting path. And that didn't happen till a couple of decades later. Like I was in my 40s. I had done maybe every year I would do a few paintings, some year none. Um, so I had a little bit of a body of work, but when I met my wife, Donna, I was 40, how old was I? 45. I had not painted in several years. And she came to my house when we were first dating, and she saw a bunch of paintings stacked up in a closet. And she's like, "Whoa, what's this?" And she starts like pulling them out. I'm like, "Oh, that's just, something I do." And she's like, "Wait a minute." She like stopped me. She's like, "You can do that and you are not doing that." Like I was working as a real estate agent in Santa Fe, New Mexico, like buying and remodeling and flipping houses and stuff, which was creative too, but like that really kind of woke me up. I'm like, wait a minute, like, yeah, shit. So I'm
No,
not
it's a
doing that. Right. Yeah, so I that kind of got the wheels turning again, and little by little with her support, because she also said, if you need to take time off from whatever other work you're doing, like I can support us, like we're good. She was doing well. Um, so I did. I started building a body of work. I got into the Laguna Beach Festival of Arts, which is, for people who know, it's one of the more prestigious art festivals in the country. It's been happening for 90 years. And that launched my career. I built a collector base. And so in a lot of ways, it was a very organic process. I didn't plan it. I didn't go to art school saying, I didn't foresee it. It just kind of unfolded. And I like to think that it wasn't until my 40s that I really had the emotional and spiritual understanding that now colors my art. Like I hadn't built that up. So if I had gone into as a professional artist in my 20s, it would have been a very different result, I think. So, and that brings us to now.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it's amazing to like watch how everything unfolded, and I know everything worked out as it was supposed to get you to this place. But I
Hmm.
want to say hi to everybody who's joined us as well. We got a lot of people on here today, and what you said about keeping that imagination open, that's what we do with our mediumship, to keeping the channel open, because that imagination zone is spirit, where everything is possible, as you said. And it's like it can be upside down and topsy turvy and all things, nonsensical and wonderlandish too. And it's like you're able to harness that and capture it. And that, to me, is spirit. And the more we open up and transform into our spirit, we start to access that more. And so that's why play is so important too. So
Hmm.
I love
Hmm.
that you found that. And I would imagine that, imagine that would have also opened up your channel to write your poetry as well.
Yeah, yeah. And the written word has always played a big part in my visual art, because very often I'll read something um, that sparks an idea. In fact, at some point while we're talking, we'll share an image of my latest painting, which was born from something that I read, a quote from someone. Um, so yeah, for sure. And I do love the writing process. I think if something happened and I just wasn't able to paint anymore for whatever reason, I would dive into writing head first. So, but I'm able to marry the two, and very often my paintings include a poem that they work together. They complement each other. So
Yeah, that's beautiful too.
yeah.
And one of our guests here was saying the same with sounds. Kit was saying it's the same with sounds, of how you visualize the art and you visualize the scene. We do that with music too. So
Mm,
it's like
mm,
it's beautiful the way, color and music. It's almost like they're like the language of the universe. Color, music, and words, and how they come together to
hmm.
tell the story of us and all the other places that are connected to us.
Yeah. Oh, Kit.
Um,
I love that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got some of your artwork to show everybody, and you've got some fun stories that go with them as well. Shall we delve into that and dive into that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Let's do that.
Where
Yeah.
should we start?
Mm, let's so there's let's pull up the image. It's the painting of the guy skating over the ocean with a whale underneath. Let's pull that one up.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And so this one is titled, oh gosh, I've got to pull up my own title. Uh, this was a painting. There's a very famous painting called the Reverend Robert Walker. Um, hmm, I should have had this at my fingertips. Anyway, so there's a very famous painting, and it hangs in the Scottish in Edinburgh, the Scottish Museum there, and it's this Reverend. I think it was done in the 1600s or so, and or 1700s maybe, and he's skating on this frozen lake. And so I saw it. Donna and I were in Scotland, and I decided to do a painting of him skating over the ocean, and it kind of ties in with what's going on the planet with regarding climate change and so forth. So I did this painting and I exhibited it at the Laguna Festival of Arts, and this is a place, an exhibit venue where I'm there greeting people. People come in and for the show, so I'm interacting with people. And if you go to the next piece, I think, and I don't know if you can, are you able to zoom in on the figure or not really in what you're sharing in the screen share?
I think Kelly's
Uh,
trying here too.
Okay, and if not, it's fine. But there's the man skating is there's it's a very specific dress costume, and it's like
Uh-huh.
it's something that a cleric would have worn, in that 1700s or period. Very really unique. And so I was there at my exhibit, and I saw a guy walk by kind of out of the corner of my eye, because there's 2,500 people that come to this art show because there's a performance and music and so forth. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I was talking to a customer, and I'm like, hold on. And I ran out of my booth and I ran around the corner, and I saw this guy. And if you go to the next shot of the man standing, so unfortunately, I need to, I wish you could see the detail, but this man, and this is a guy, like he's in a skirt and this big floppy hat. This is how he would dress. Even the ruffled thing, he was dressed exactly like the skater in my scene. And so I'm like, you got to come over here. I dragged him over in front of my painting and
Mhm.
got him to pose. If you go to the next shot, there's just another shot of his. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
this
I
doesn't have
see.
it doesn't have quite the punch without showing the detail of the original painting figure, which I could send you. But
Yeah.
you know, the sort of the point of this story is my life has always been to a certain level, and it seems to be getting more and more like this a waking dream, right? It's like things flow and things people float in and out of my scene, and and this was like just a perfect example. This guy, like, not only like you would run into someone that's dressed like this to begin with. I mean, it was such an unusual outfit, but that he was dressed exactly like the figure in my painting. um
Yeah.
so anyway,
We
it's just
we like to say you can't make this stuff up in our
you can't
mediumship
make
world because
you
these
yeah,
synchronicities happen all the time. So you painted almost this exact figure with this outfit, and then fast forward, here's your painting on the wall. This man shows up in the same
yeah,
outfit. It's like,
yeah, yeah. Yeah. And so like it showed me it shows me more and more from the metaphysical point of view, like how much life really is a dream, and I follow some spiritual teachers, and they really share that we're moving as we evolve as a species in humanity, that we're coming to more the realization that life is really a waking dream, Um,
indeed
but
it is.
it's also like represents to me how my art is more than just a product that I'm creating. It's like it's so integral. It's like how do I want to say? I don't know. It's a channel that comes to me that I create, but then the art that I create is another channel that I put out, and then people connect to it in this really beautiful, unique ways. And so another story I'll share, if you pull up the image, it's called Sojourn. It's the painting of It's kind of the misty ocean scene.
Okay, we'll have that in just a second there for
Okay.
you too. There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's
So this
beautiful.
this is a painting I did. It's probably been 10 years now or something, and it's called Sojourn. And there's three bubbles. You might not be able to see the third one in the distance. It's a little back. And these bubbles have a flame in the center. And these bubbles are symbolic. I've used them in a lot of my work. They're symbolic of our spirit for me in my art. And by our spirit, I mean our consciousness, our essence, our soul, unencumbered or not us outside the body, right? With that, disembodied. And I created this from my experience of being a hospice volunteer, because I've always been very interested in death, in the dying process, and how does that color or change how we live? And so I had a girlfriend at the time who was a worked for hospice, and she um, let me know that they were looking for volunteers. So I'm like, oh, that sounds really interesting. So I got trained as a hospice volunteer, and I had the privilege of being with quite a few people in their dying process, and some of them didn't really want to have a relationship with me. I just helped like the families, and I would be there while they went shopping and just be in the house. But there was a handful of people that I got to develop a relationship with, including one woman I was with for a year. And I got to see how people approach their death. Like what happens as you realize that your time is really finite. Um, and it was a beautiful experience. It was a beautiful learning, and it was a gift. But back to this particular painting, this painting was hanging again at the same venue, Laguna Beach, California. And I wasn't there at the time, but I got a call from a woman who, like, she was sobbing. When I picked up the phone, she was sobbing, and it took her a minute to like catch her words, and she's like, you don't know me. I'm sorry that I'm not remembering her name at the moment. You don't know me, but I'm standing in front of this painting at the Festival of Arts in Laguna Beach, and I have to tell you this story. I was at the beach, and this venue is about a mile from the beach. It's up a road from the coastline. I was at the beach, and I was feeling really sad because my mother had just died. Like yet the day before, my mother had died, and I felt compelled to go to the beach and put my feet in the sand and sit at the water's edge. And I was sitting there, and behind me, some kids were blowing bubbles, and the bubbles floated by, and they were floating out to sea. And I knew, this is her telling me, I knew that was my mother, just telling me that I'm okay. I'm feeling the emotion around this right now as I'm telling the story. And okay, and then the woman says, and then I got up and I just started walking. I didn't know where I was going. I started walking around the town of Laguna Beach, and I walked up this road. I didn't know what was there. I saw, oh, there's an art exhibit, and I just walked into it. Again, she's just like making a path to my painting. She was just guided. And then she finds herself in front of this painting and reads the story that, this is about death, and it's about, you know, the 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 beautiful aspect of the freedom of, being relieved from a body that's often in illness or strife. And man, that was such a cool experience for both of us. But again, that's what I mean, I think, by, the art that comes to me is being called forth, not just by me, but by others. It's like it's serving a bigger purpose that I'm very privileged to be a part of
Yeah.
that chain,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
it's such a beautiful. I know I've got the chills with that too, so I can feel, yeah, and Kristen's got the chills. So
Mm.
we're all feeling spirit reminding us of this,
Yeah.
this magic wonderland that we are
Hmm.
part of, this, like you said, dream within a dream that we live
Hmm.
in. And you know, what's so beautiful is like what you tuned into and what you channeled, and then she saw it later. But you know, time and space is, like time is an illusion too. So it's like, it's like, who's to say which is which? Is like, did she tune in to, did the future come to her,
Yeah,
or did you come to the
right,
future?
right,
And it's
right,
probably both.
exactly.
The more it doesn't make sense is the more it actually makes sense these days for me.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
oh, magnificent.
Yeah, well, I'll share one other. There's not so much a story to this one, but if you pull up the painting, this is one that was inspired by a quote that I recently read. And this is a painting of the guy in the boat with the flowers.
Oh, that's one of your newer ones,
Yeah,
yes?
that's the most recent painting that I just
Beautiful.
finished. And this one is called All the Love We Have to Give. And I'll read you the quote that inspired this painting. So there's an author named Jamie Anderson who wrote this, and it says, "Grief, I've learned, is really just love. It's all the love you want to give but cannot." Excuse me, I'm flipping my screen. All that unspent love gathers up in the corners of your eyes, the lump in your throat, and in the hollow of your chest. Grief is just love with no place to go. So
Yeah.
this painting was born from that, and it represents this person who this unspent love is all these flowers in this boat, and he's looking for somewhere to take it. And so um, my wife had a breast cancer scare. She's fine. She caught it early, but in that period of time where we didn't know, some paintings were born, some poems were written that, you know, I was feeling the fragileness of life and the preciousness of our time here. And so there's a part of me, I think, that dances with that awareness all the time. And I think for me, it makes my life even richer when I know either myself or the people around me, the people I love, could be gone at any point. So there's been quite a few paintings. There's been some poems that I've written that touch on that. And this is the most recent one. So
It's absolutely beautiful. Do you have a poem to
thank you.
go through to go with this one as of yet?
I don't. I don't know if there will be. I don't know that I can add anything different than that quote. I think that
Yeah,
kind of says it
it's
all.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
There is
It's
there is a poem. There is another painting, and we can pull it up.
okay.
That does have a poem, and this will be the last of the death the death pieces because it's my work isn't all about that, but it does. But the more I'm realizing, there is quite a bit that really touches, and it's not so much death. It's about being in touch with the spiritual realm. Our own spiritual
Yes.
nature, which we perceive as death. But it isn't always so. So on my website, Kelly, there's an image of let me see, it's scrolling down. It's a painting it's called In Between Here, Not Here. There's rocks stacked up coming out of a cloud. There's a big tree on top. Um, if you're able to put your finger on that.
I think I have that one. See? Paul's book.
Yeah.
You can get it on his website
Yeah, that's
while
it's
she's
similar
finding
to that. It's similar to
it.
that, but it's not that one. It's
Okay, close. That's close. Yes.
it's close. It's a different
Okay,
one. Yeah.
we almost have it here.
Okay.
Was that the one
Yeah.
that she had just pulled up a minute ago? Was that the one?
Uh, I missed it because I was pulling
Okay,
up
I
the
think we had
poem.
one. I think that was the right one, Kelly. Okay,
There's
so
a little
one.
structure. There's a ladder coming down.
Yeah, I think that's the one that we had. Yeah, so we'll just pull
Okay.
that one back up.
Yeah. So this is the one that I actually created right in that period where no, it's not that one. It's further down. If you're looking at the images on my page, it's probably another 10 or 15 images down, Kelly. Um, it's it's coming out of the clouds. It's the only one where the kind of quite like that. And if we can't find it, it's fine. We can move
Is
on
that it? Is
to
that it,
something
Paul?
else. Yeah,
I
that's
think
it.
that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
that's the one. So this one is called In Between Here and Not Here. And I'll read you, if I can hold it together for this, because this one is very personal. In between here and not here. If you were to die before me, I would find a piece of real estate in between heaven and earth, where I build a little shelter like the ones hikers use on long mountain trails. There we could spend nights together, and if you were so inclined, I'd let you cradle my newborn sadness. Out of the storm of my grief, you would tell me stories about why I shouldn't be in a hurry to follow, and feed me with knowing words that it's all okay, all divine, that you left with everything you came for and more. With coffee-flavored kisses, you would thank me for the sweetness I gave to your life, and I'd make you stay until the dawn was certain, until night had poured out the last of its darkness. When I awoke again, the smell of you on our sheets would confirm that it wasn't just a dream, that you were waiting for us in the shelter I built between here and not here. Right, I did
you did it. I know.
it.
I wasn't even,
Yeah.
I was just listening and I was choking back the tears on that one too. I think we all felt that.
Mm, yeah.
Thank you for reminding us how precious life is and in such a beautiful and profound way too,
Mm,
with all this beauty. I mean,
yeah.
we can feel it, and it's like, this is a screen share from your website of something that you painted and it's like traveled through technology and then we're feeling it all at the
Hmm.
same time. So it's like your work is infused with your love, and
Yeah.
with your spirit.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
listening to, I know, me too, Jennifer. I was like, "Ah, the coffee kisses. Oh my God, Michelle, oh my God."
Oh.
Oh, I just love
Well,
it.
and my thank you. Thank you. So the work is, I moved to Costa Rica. We moved to Costa Rica about 2.5 years ago now. And my work is definitely changing. It's not, there's always the spirit infused elements of it, but I'm playing with more of the natural elements that are here in this environment. So if you go to on the page, Kelly, of my work, just pull up the first image in the prints. It's the toucan. It's called the sage. And I did this is the one of us in a series of works that I did called this Forest Guardians. And I did
Ooh.
paintings of 4 different animals that I find in my environment. I mean, I literally see toucans flying back and forth um, around me. And so these paintings were kind of inspired. My son, who's 28, lives here in Costa Rica now with Suri, his wife, and he's a shaman. He was born to do ceremony and to walk that world between the physical and the spiritual. And so this was kind of inspired by him, inspired by the animals here. And so this is a little bit of a new direction. I hadn't done anything kind of quite like these, and I'm super excited about them. There'll be more that I'll be doing. And then there's another one, Kelly, that's the two more down. It's called The Graduate. It's an image of a sloth. Um, and this is part of the Forest Guardian series. And it's a little bit, this one, like most of my paintings, I'm bringing forth something that I personally going through or gone through. And this painting I did, this is the first painting I did after not having painted for a while after moving here, because I went into a funk when I moved here because I left my family, my other family. I left California. You're saying, like you grow up in a place and you know it. Like that was my tribe, love it or not. That was, the U.S., California were my people. I knew, and I come and I plant myself in this place, and I went through. It was in the middle of the rainy season where it rains for days on end, and I went into a little depression, and um well, it's like, okay, I gotta I gotta get it. I gotta figure out a way out of this. So someone shared with me, may have even been my son. Someone said, why don't you look at microdosing? like psilocybin microdosing. I'm like, okay, I can do that. So I started doing microdosing, and it was almost like a flip was switched. You know, it was not just that, because when I started the microdosing, I started working on the new paintings, and that's when I came up with a series of 4 paintings. So I was getting back into my art, but I think the microdosing what also is the physiological element that helped with my brain. Like I was creating ruts into this like funk, and so that short circuited that. So I did this painting to sort of celebrate that, and this I call it The Graduate, and this sloth, the three-toed sloth, who they live around here. Um, you know, it represents me in terms of graduating. Like, okay, I went through a dark night of the soul, and I've graduated from that. There's going to be another class and another graduation, but this was celebrating me like coming back to myself, right? In a really new way. And so this painting represents the me as the graduate with the mushroom hat
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
and the
it's very,
diploma.
yeah, yeah, it's very beautiful. It's a beautiful, a lot you brought up there is like with your experience, because it is common when you move, traveling.
Hmm.
That's enough to spark a dark night of the soul of the
Hmm.
grief of your past and how you knew
Especially moving it
yourself
to
to
another
be.
country,
Oh yeah,
to
all new
yeah.
environment, all new people, all new energy. So you're going to go through that grief of your past and go through that dark night. So that makes perfect sense too.
Uh-huh.
There's
Hmm.
a new Netflix documentary that talks about like the plant medicines and things like that. I can't remember
Mm.
what it's
Hmm.
called, but it
I know
explains
it.
a lot of
Yeah.
this too. So you were able to kind of like expand your consciousness and go through a healing process to get to this
Hmm.
point. Funny thing,
Yeah.
Paul, I was on Facebook this morning. One of the first things I saw was a rescue of this little baby sloth that was on the street with all of the cars. Not joking. And
Uh-huh.
the guy, I don't know what country we were in, but the guys were trying to figure out how to rescue this baby sloth without getting clawed, And they
Yeah.
finally got
Yeah.
it and then walked across the street and handed it back to its mama, who took it like this and did it
Hmm.
was this almost made me cry. And I'm like, of course, of
And
course.
the mamas, and it was probably Costa Rica. I mean, that what the video you're
Yeah.
talking about, that happens in my neighborhood literally all the time. And the mothers always look back and they smile, like, because they have a perpetual smile, right? And they look
Uh-huh.
back and they put their hand out like this. I've seen this over and over again. They put their hand towards the person that put them in the tree or gave them their baby back. Um, yeah, there's something quite magical about the sloths. They're really, yeah, yeah. I know the video you're talking about, and that really happens here on a regular
Yeah.
basis.
And of
So
course, that was
yeah.
like the first thing I saw this morning. I was so when I saw your picture, I was like, oh my God, you can't make this stuff up. Like as we say, you can't make this stuff up here. So
Hmm.
um
Hmm.
can we backtrack a little bit and explain like magic realism and kind of like what it is? Because you're blending kind of like the fantasy with the real, which is a little different from surrealism, which is more fantasy. Would that be correct?
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Surrealism, like the original surrealists back, they would have been in the early part of the 20th century, the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, the likes of Dali and Max Ernst and some of those artists.
Hmm.
They were, it was like kind of heady stuff. Like Dali especially was pulling stuff out of his psyche that I always had a hard time relating to, because it didn't, I don't know. I wasn't in his head. I like wasn't feeling the same things. But so the surrealism can also be not, how do I want to say, not very realistic, right? In terms of the rendering, they can be not abstract, but stylized, that kind of thing. Whereas magic realism differentiates that they're always images that are rendered very realistically. But there's magical, surreal, fantastic things going on within these scenes. And so my paintings, as I create them, I want them to be as realistic as possible for the main purpose that I'm trying to recapture like a dream state. And when we're in our dream state, everything is very real, right? you don't dream in cartoon images. Like everything is very real, but there's things going on in that, and those things, because it's very real, it's like, oh, this is real, this is reality, and here's someone floating by or whatever. You don't question it in the dream state, right? So that's what I'm striving to bring forth in my paintings, making them as real as possible to bring you into it like a reality. But then there's the elements going on in it that are not quote unquote real in our normal day-to-day lives. So yeah, so hopefully
Yes.
that explains it. Yeah,
Yes. And
yeah,
as the Mad Hatter
yeah.
said to Alice in Wonderland before she went back through the glass, and she says, "Oh, but a dream isn't reality." And he says, "Well, who's to say which is which?" One
Yeah,
of my
yeah,
favorite lines.
that's a good one. That's it. Who's to say which is which? And I think, like, I find my life becoming more and more like that experience with that guy walking up in the dress in front of the painting that was the exact image. It's like, the more I treat life like a waking dream, the more it presents itself as a waking dream. I mean, things happen to me all the time. I get bogged down in my little troubles and stuff, but when I get out of that space and realize it for the waking dream that it is, then I get to live
Yeah.
in it like a dream.
Yeah. It's very true. They start to get blended together because I've realized I have to be mindful of like what I put in my consciousness, but it's actually funny because if I watch movies that have a lot of dramatic elements and things like that, all of a sudden I'll be out on a walk and like something that represents that movie will show up
Mm,
as a physical object somewhere on the
hmm.
street or somebody's, and I'm just like, yep, there it is again. So I'm like, did I manifest that or did it?
Uh,
It's almost like the
that's
realities start to blend together. Does that make sense?
uh-huh.
And it feels like what you're
Yes,
doing here. You're
yes,
blending
yeah. Oh, that.
realities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's fun.
It
It's
is
fun.
fun.
I think, yeah, I think like I say, it's my understanding that we're moving to that place and that the higher dimensional, and higher vibrational societies around, you know, in the universe, like, live that way. And that I think we're heading in that way. It may not be in our lifetime, but you know, I think the humanity is heading in that way of living in that realization, that reality. So,
Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're right.
yeah.
Is there any other
Yeah.
pieces that you'd like to share with us?
Oh gosh. Yeah, let me take a quick peek. Mm, 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 mm. Um, yeah, we can pull up. There's an image, and it's a group of people. It's a group of animals and a little girl on an island. There's an elephant with a top hat. Uh, it's probably about 10 or 12 images down, Kelly, on my page. It's called
There it is.
McKenna's
Oh,
Bittersweet Departure. Yeah. Yeah, so
oh,
this is
that's
a this is a painting I did. It's called McKenna's Bittersweet Departure from the Island of Happiness. And this one represents this girl who has her little suitcase. And this was an actual girl that I knew. She was um a granddaughter of a friend of ours, and I met her, and I used to see her around at this art exhibit I did. And I would look at her and I'm like, there's something like special about this little being, and I want to use her in a painting. So she modeled for me, and I did this painting with her in it. And so this painting evolved as I got to know her a little bit. She was at that cusp of still a child, but like entering the adult world and wanting to be a grown up and wanting to. So this painting is about that inflection point where you're growing, like you start realizing the world of adults, and it appeals to you. It's like, oh, I want to be an adult. I want to be grown up and, leave behind these childish things. And so McKenna is her name, and that's the name of the girl in the painting, is waiting for someone to come get her, right? The boat going to adult land. She's got her little suitcase, but the animals represent her childhood. They represent innocence, they represent play. And so she's getting ready to depart. and they're seeing her off, but they're seeing her off knowing that this is part of the process, right? This is part of the growing up process. And they're letting her go, but they're also letting her know that they're going to be there if she wants to come back, you know.
Yeah.
And so it reminds me also too of a quote from the author Tom Robbins, who just died, but one of my favorite authors, and he wrote kind of magic realism based stories. But he said it's never too late to have a happy childhood, you know. And so I think for those of us who realize that and are able to reincorporate play and some sense of innocence in our lives again, like we can go back to that island. We're not going to live there. We can go back and visit it and tap into that, you know. And so
Yeah.
this was also for me, like all my
Okay. I think we froze just a little bit. Go ahead and bring us back, Kelly. Paul, you've just frozen for just a moment. There we go. Okay, we'll bring him back in just a minute. So while Paul is getting unfrozen to everybody, we have put his website on the in the comments for you, paulbondart.com. You can also give him a follow on Facebook at Paul Bond Fine Art, and on Instagram as well. This is his coffee table book that's also available on his website. This is some of your older work, correct? You froze for a minute, so I I was filling in the space.
yeah,
So,
sorry, I lost you too. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a book, a coffee table book
Mhm.
that's on available through my website. I'm working on a new edition of a book, but it's going to be a while, maybe later this year. But I do greeting cards. I have some, you know, other things on my website that I have, and I have limited edition prints of all of my paintings. Um, and because my originals go pretty quick, pretty much as quick as I create them. I have a waiting list of people waiting for the originals. So, but
yeah,
the prints are a nice way to be able to get my work out into the world. They're very true to the originals. So,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I know printing's come a long way at making you feel like you've got the real thing too. So that's quite beautiful.
they
So
really are.
yeah. So
Yeah,
please, everybody, give
yeah,
Paul a follow on Facebook and on Instagram too, and make sure to check out his website as well. So that would be great. If you could also hit the reaction
yeah.
button on this video so more people can listen to it afterwards and benefit from our beautiful discussion and his beautiful work. Please hit the little heart button. Thank you for your comments. If you want to share, subscribe to the Sacred Spiral Network on YouTube, and follow Miss Jennifer Rose and Miss Kelly Brickle. We will be so happy as well. So thank you for all of that, and thank you for tagging.
Is there a
Please
time
do
for
a little
me
hash.
to give one? Is there a time for me to
Oh,
give one
sure.
plug? Okay, so
Oh,
for
sure.
people who are interested
Absolutely.
in Costa Rica, my wife, who leads women's retreats, she's an author, she's a coach, she's a magical being. She's got one coming up in April. Right now, she's doing retreats just for women, and I'm trying to convince her to do it for couples, you know. But anyway, for people who are curious about Costa Rica, donnabond.com is her website, and you can see more about her and what she's offering down here, which all ties into what I'm doing together too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, I was just gonna hand it back over to you to say anything you had
oh,
coming up,
sorry,
but I
I
just
cut
wanted
you
to.
off.
No, it's all good. I want to get that
Okay.
in. If you guys want to also put a hashtag replay in the comments for us too, that will help us to reach more people, because I just want as many people to hear what you have to say and see your work as possible, Paul. So yes, please check out
Thank you.
Donna Bond Professional Coaching, his lovely wife, and she also has a show on the Sacred Spiral Network, which will be on. Oh my gosh.
It's
The time
Tuesdays.
Tuesdays
Oh,
at
the title
2:22.
the title is Spiritual Ambition.
That's right, Spiritual Ambition.
Uh-huh.
I just it
Yeah.
left my brain for a second. So we'll be coming
Yeah.
up this coming Tuesday at 2:22 Pacific time, which will be 10:22 or maybe 9:22 in the UK, because our times are changing. It's all so
Yeah.
confusing. All will be right with the world the end of March. Any final
Okay.
thoughts you'd like to leave with us, Paul? Thank you so much for sharing your magic with
Oh,
us.
oh, thank you, Jennifer, for this invitation. Yeah, yeah. I'm just I'm so grateful that I get to do this for a living, for my vocation, and that there's people like yourself who like see the value in it and want to help bring it out into the world. So thank you. Grateful.
You are so welcome, and I'm equally grateful to you. So this is a very exciting show. Oh, and Maria Gonçalves has shared it as well. Thank you, Maria. So we love you so
Yes,
much.
and thanks to everyone who tuned in too. I wasn't able to get myself into the chat to make comments. I see some people I recognize, so thanks for everyone and all the
Yeah,
new people. Yeah.
yeah, you have a lot of beautiful support here today. So
Mm.
I'm so happy we got to do this. So thank you so
Yes.
much again, Paul. Thank you, Kelly, for taking good care of us. She's working
Thanks,
hard in the
Kelly.
background for us. Don't forget to tune in at 2:30 for her show. I'm interviewing Miss Cheryl Murphy as well. Please, everybody, live well, love you well, and make all of those steps walking with grace. They will take you far. Thanks for tuning in to the Embracing Infinity show on the Sacred Spiral Network. We will see you next Friday, and have a beautiful weekend, everybody. And don't forget to live magically. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Jennifer.